G'day guys, Jarryd Mcneil here, 15 times X Games medalist and 9-time gold medalist. I'm an Australian junior champion and I've qualified for 3 Pro AMA Outdoor Nationals here in the United States. Today I'd like to work on some techniques with you, something that I learned as an amateur back home in Australia growing up through the ranks, something that really kind of helped me with cornering and the right positions to attack a corner. So check it out. Okay, first you're going to need a corner, whether that's at your local motocross track or private property. Go and find one and practice. So here at Moonshine Ranch we've got a nice inside corner, a nice rut. I shoveled it out just a bit deeper so I can get a little bit more aggressive with it. And then we've got a nice bank turn on the outside. So there's 2 options here for you to look at and see kind of what I do. So I'm going to head over to the bike, it's on the stand, and basically I'm just going to run you through the motions and kind of give you my technique of what I think works best. Alright guys, so I'm going to mount up on the bike here and run through some motions with you. So starting off, I feel like your hand controls is key. So for myself, these are actually kind of a little bit lower today than what I normally would run. But it's so basically, I like to either have a flat level or just a little bit down so you can have plenty of control with it. So basically, nice neutral position. When you're coming into a corner, you want to be standing up. So whether or not under braking, you're leaning far back, or you're pretty center on the bike. Now, it depends if you like to use 1 or 2 fingers, it's totally up to you. For me, I like to ride with 1 finger on the brake and 1 finger on the clutch. A lot of people run 2, some people run middle fingers. I like to use my pointer finger on both controls. If I was going to use 2 fingers, I would use the pointer finger and the middle finger to be in control with that. Basically, so having the right nice setup on your levers, getting your rear brake is key to having a nice touchy brake, but you don't want to have you don't want it to be going way too far down because you don't want to be trying to put your knee forward while you're trying to brake into a corner. So key setup is your levers and your rear brake. So I guess coming into a corner under brakes, you want to be in the back position. You want to be under braking hard, so you're going to be putting a lot more brake on your front. I try and typically get people to use more front brake than rear. Obviously there's a lot of rear brake riders. It's a bad habit to have. You want to be pushing a lot into your front wheel. That's how you're going to drive through the corner. That's how your bike's going to stay in the rut and drive through. So what I really wanted to focus on today was mainly, I noticed here in the United States especially, something that doesn't really get taught that often, was with amateurs and pros. I noticed a lot of guys would come into a corner and basically you're going from say a standing up position. A lot of guys will sit down and then just put their foot out, and that is not the best technique to have when approaching a corner and trying to set yourself up. So today I want to work on with you guys is coming into the corner, nice body position, elbows up, nice and aggressive. Now when you're practicing this, don't, slow and steady, it wins the race with this. You want to go through the motions, you don't need to be coming in hard and fast and trying to blow out the corner. You really just need to practice the techniques of cornering. So just slow everything down when you start getting the feel of the transition from standing to sitting, and just work on it, and then basically you're going to get better and better, and you're going to be able to whack this corner harder than you've ever whacked it before. So basically coming down the straightaway, a nice position, you kind of want a little bit of bent elbows. Now for me, having levers quite high, a lot of guys, something that I was taught through Greg Moss actually, was a lot of guys run their levers really low or not flat and even. Like, you want your levers to be both pretty similar on both sides. Now I like to have my levers kind of high or kind of how they are now, because you really want to be pushing your body weight through your arm into this part of your hand. A lot of guys that have their levers down, which rolls their wrist forwards, so you can't really push on the back of your bike when you're coming into the corner. You want to be able to push into the front end of your bike. So having your levers either flat or just a little bit down gets you to get the drive through your hands to push when you're under braking. Now when you're under braking, you want to go from braking. Now on a right hand turn, obviously your foot's going to come off, so then you're going to be relying on your front brake for the turn. So basically coming into the turn, on a right turn, you're taking your foot off after you finish rear braking, which I like to sit up into the corner as late as I kind of can. You want to use like that first bit of the corner. You want to be gripping with your knees super hard, always gripping with your knees, whether it's in a corner, straight away, on a jump. Motocross is really key to gripping with your bike and gripping with your knees. So one, when you're coming into the corner under braking, you can start to lean your bike in with your hips. So you're going to be gripping with your knees and you're going to start leaning the bike into the turn, getting it on an approach angle, basically enough to where you can start sitting down into the turn. Now, the key technique is a lot of guys mess up. Like I said before, they sit down, then they put their foot out. That is not the right approach. Basically, you want to be going from standing up to sitting down in one motion. So you're going to be putting all your weight really on your opposite foot. So my left foot is going to take all the weight and it's going to basically take me from standing up to sitting down. I'm going to go in one motion. So basically this is the motion. Boom. Now whether you have your knee like above your shroud or to the side here, obviously the lower the turn, the higher your knee is going to get up below your bars. So this motion is basically what I want to show you. From braking, now I'm going to be using more of my front brake into the turn because I've taken my foot off the rear brake as I'm going into the turn. So I'm going to be relying on my front brake for the braking, which is opposite to a left-hand turn. Obviously a left-hand turn you can kind of brake further in. You may be able to hit it a bit harder if you get more confidence. Basically, because your right foot is always going to be on the rear brake on a left-hand turn, and that's not the case for a right-hand turn. So one motion, boom, braking straight into a sit position with your foot out is key, and that's what I'm going to show you today. A lot of people mess up, like I said, they sit down and then they put their foot out. You're losing too much time. Motocross is all about flow, body position, and for me, this was one thing that I really stood out to me, especially here in the United States, seeing a lot of guys not really doing this technique. So this was something I was taught as an amateur. Stephen Gall, Stephen Andrews, Greg Moss, these guys all taught this at a young age. I think one of my first riding schools was when I was about 8 years old. So yeah, basically this is the motion you're looking for. Okay, so coming into the first quarter of the turn, the motion I just ran you through, you're going from the standing to the seating position. Now you're going to be wanting to sit into the front of the tank here, I guess from the neutral position to your gas tank, and it'll vary if you're trying to get a little bit more weight back to get traction, or if you're really trying to dive in and get low, you might sit a little bit further forward. Now, basically, in that first quarter of the turn, you're going from the standing position to the seating position. Your elbows are high. Okay, now when you're in that corner, when you're almost approaching into the middle, you want to be looking through the turn. Basically, you want to look into the turn, you want to look through the turn, and then you want to look out of the turn to where you're going, setting up for the next turn. So key position there too is when you dive in for the corner, you're into that first quarter of the rut, you go from the standing position to the seating position. You also put your arse cheeks either side of the outside curve on the seat. So you know, you've got your flat top and then you've got your sides. You kind of want one cheek to be on the outside and one cheek to be on the inside. So basically you're going from standing to sitting onto that, and your cheek is going to be on that corner of the seat. It just helps with gripping on the seat, getting nice in there and getting firm and a good contact with your bike. So mid-turn, basically, this is what I want to key focus on, is when you're transitioning from braking to power. So obviously a right-hand turn, you're going to get off the brakes a little earlier because you're taking your foot off to turn in. Obviously you're still relying on your front brake, but you really want to be going from braking to accelerating. Obviously you're learning, so whether you're a pro or you're a beginner, you basically just take your time with it. Yes, you're going to coast a little bit, but the key is to take away the coast. You basically want to go from braking to accelerating in a turn. That's key. The least amount of roll you have in the turn is better. So especially on a 125, you want that momentum. So you're basically coming in off the brakes straight onto the gas and powering out of the turn. Now, the last part of the turn, basically you're going to come out, obviously you're going to lift your bike, you're going to lift your foot up onto the peg, and under acceleration now, either you might have got a whole lot of handful in that turn, you may need to be over the front, you've got your elbows bent, you're still in that race attack position. you're going to be sliding from the outside of your seat into kind of more the middle as you're straightening up the bike to come out of the turn. Sometimes you might be wheeling out of the turn, so you need to get up the front. Maybe you're not, maybe you're getting a little bit of wheel spin, so you need to try and get back a little bit more. Today we're pretty grippy, so traction will be key. It shouldn't be too bad, but you may need to get back. You may come out of the turn, you may get back on the seat, you may get back up to sitting, and you might get back to friggin' accelerating and really pinning it down the straightaway. So there's just some things to watch out for, and yeah, we'll run through the motions and kind of you'll pick up on it. All right, so I'm gonna chuck on a helmet. I'm sure you're sick of hearing me talk right now. I'm gonna start this bad boy up. I'm gonna do some corners, show you really how to do a technique. Okay, you're probably laughing, you're probably seeing me go from fully standing up because I've got short legs, but I was in the attack position, going from attack position into sitting position. Just there wasn't much of a gap there, so it was probably hard to see the transition, just so you know. Okay, this is a technique that you really don't want to do. It's something that we've all learnt, we've all been there, we're all beginners back in the day, and yeah, this is the technique that you've all learnt, and it was just a bad habit that you learnt. So basically, you're in an attack position coming into a corner. Most people are kind of in that position, and you know, if you knew about standing up most of the time while racing a motocross bike, it's a pretty useful thing. But you know, going from the standing up position, basically most people will go from standing up to sitting down, then putting their foot out. You're losing so much time. This is not a smooth transition into the corner. So this is what not to do. From braking, sitting down, hitting the braking bumps, which is really bad. You actually want to be off the seat when you're hitting the braking bumps. That's why in the first quarter of the turn, you're actually standing up and then getting into the seat position, because the braking bumps are leading into the corner. So if you're sitting down, you're just getting bucked the whole way in. Where if you're standing up, the bike can float below you and absorb all those chatter. So basically, you do not want to go from standing up, attack position, to sitting down, to then putting your foot out. You want to go from standing up, nice transition, straight to standing and sitting out. Okay, so now I just wanted to kind of walk you through the sections of the turn and kind of just dissect it a little bit more. So basically, coming in from the straightaway, you've got the first entry part to the turn. It's going to get the most chopped up. I like to actually swing a little wide, especially coming into a turn, kind of open it up like a road racer would. Really flow through that corner with some speed. But leading into the turn, you're going to find yourself on the braking bumps or a lot of chatter coming in. So this is the part where it's key to go from that attack position, you're standing up, or kind of a squatting position, but you're up above the seat, so the bike's not hitting you in the arse. Now, that's going to be the chop, so you can see a couple of chops here from today. Now, the first part of the turn, you can see when the rut actually starts to dig down and actually start to form a rut. Now, that's where your bike's going to start gripping and start turning into the turn. And that's actually the spot that you really want to use that part of your bike, where you want to go from like the standing position to the seating position. You want to have your cheek kind of on the curve of the seat. That's where all of that comes into play. Now, you've gone into that seating position from standing. You're looking through the turn. You're trying your best to look ahead and look through the turn, and then you're going to look out of the turn. So you've got your attack elbows up position. You've got your leg out. You're trying to get it nice and high as best as you can. You're looking through the turn. You've gone from braking into the turn, standing. You've gone from standing to sitting. You've gone from sitting to having your foot out at the same time. Now you're looking through the turn and you're under acceleration now. You're in the middle of the turn. you're under acceleration, you're looking ahead, and you're peeling out of the turn, looking down the straightaway towards your next turn. That's what I find the best that works for me. Alright guys, you made it this far. I hope you liked the video and you learned something today. There'll be plenty more where this came from. So drop a comment below, like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and yeah, hopefully the skills are better.